Hello guys and welcome to another tutorial series. In this series we're going to make a basic to-do app. We'll be doing this is for iOS only, and we'll be using Swift as the programming language. In this specific tutorial we're going to put out all of the interface elements we need into the app. We're just going to essentially drag and drop them straight into the app. So let's get started by creating a new project in Xcode. So let's go to new project, and then we want single view application, and then let's call it to do app. And for this one we're going to tick use core data. We're going to tick use core data. Let's click next. Then let's go to programming and I can't find iOS to do app tutorial, then tutorial 1, and that's where we're going to create it. Cool, so now we've created our project. We're almost ready to start getting started. Okay, so while it's just indexing, we're going to click on main storyboard. Like I said, in this tutorial, we're just going to basically set up the project and add the UI components with the correct constraints and everything else. So first thing we're going to add is a table view. For the most part of our app will be a table view because it's essentially just a table showing a load of to-do notes. So a table view works perfectly for that. So let's click on main storyboard and go to components library in the bottom right hand side. You just click this little button here to bring it back open if it's not open, and then this one here. So then let's just search table view, and let's drag it straight onto the view controller. Okay, so we've got it on there now, and we're going to make sure we lay it out properly in a minute once we've got a few other elements on there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a navigation bar. We're going to grab this straight to the top here. Okay. And then we're going to grab a navigation item and drag that on top of it. And then we're going to grab a bar button item, and I'm going to explain what this does in a second. And what we've got there is, for the most part, the main view of our app is what we've just created using those views. But now we're going to make sure we lay them out properly. So we're going to get the table view, and we're going to drag it so we can hit those blue lines. So the guides that Xcode lays out for us are very useful here, because they kind of give us a hint of, are we in the middle, are we on the margin, and I suppose best practices for human interface guidelines. So if you've seen any of my tutorials before, we've gone a little bit into using constraints, and that is what we're going to do again now. So let's click on, to start with, the navigation bar, and we want to use the pin function to make sure it stays in place and resizes according to whatever device it's on. So let's click here, and what we're going to do is we're going to untick constrain to margins, because we don't want it to constrain to margins, we want it to take up the full width of the device. So then you can see we've got 0, 0, 0, 0. That means we're on the edge of the display, and we're going to click yep, add free constraints, and you can see it's blue, which is good. So that's going to be stuck there nicely now. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we are going to make sure we size our table view properly and make sure it's constrained properly. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say 8, because it's the common vertical spacing for iOS. We're going to say 0, 0, and then 20 just for the footer spacing. Then what we're going to do is we're going to click add those constraints. and now it's got orange, which means because when you see the dotted lines, it means that there's something wrong with the frame. So the constraint that we set is saying that the frame needs to be bigger. It needs to take up this space here. And what we can do here is we can let Xcode fix it for us. So we can just go down here and click update frames, or we can click Alt Command or Option Command equals, and it resizes it for us, which is fantastic. So let's try clicking run to see what happens. I'm going to change this to an iPhone 6 because it fits on my screen better, and then I'm going to run it with Command R. So let's see how it looks. When it's building, it's almost finished. There we go. So we've got our basic table view, we've got our bar button item there, and we've got a title. So now we can start actually making this look a little bit more like what we're going to produce. So first of all, let's come on to the title and let's just call it to do actually, and that's the title, so that will render now. Then what we can do is we can come to item, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this bar button item, and a bar button is literally just a button that lives in the nav bar, but it has some special properties where we can change it to some predefined buttons from iOS. So what we can do is we can click on the button and go to the inspector, and we can say, instead of it being custom, we just want it to be add. And so with this button, we're going to use it to add new to do notes. Yeah, so that should get used quite a lot, I think. So let's run this again just to see how it looks. And there we go, we've got our plus button, we've got to do, and we've got our table view down there. Cool. So another thing that we need is for the users to be able to enter information for a new to-do note. There's a few ways we could do this. We could show a text field in an alert, but for this time, I think we're going to create another view controller, and Sege, I'm still not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, and Sege it, so that when the plus button is clicked, it shows this modally. It basically comes over the top of the existing view controller, and the user will be prompted to enter the data, and then once they've entered it, it will go back and hopefully it will update in the table view. The updating and the data entry stuff is coming in further down the line in the tutorials. Just now we are basically just putting all the UI components in that we think we'll need and setting up the constraints as appropriate. Okay, so what do we need to enter here? So I'd say let's drop in our navigation bar like we did for the last one. Drag that down so it's just where the status bar is. Okay, and then we're just gonna, once again, don't constrain to margins, 0, 0, 0, which means we're pinning it onto the edge of its surrounding three left side, left top and right edges. Then we're going to get the navigation item in, and we're going to call it, what we're going to call it, we're going to call it add a to do. I'm just going to call it add, in fact. Cool, that's good. And then what else do we need? We probably need a back button as well. No, we don't need any back button actually, because the user will enter the information and then they'll click done. But what we could do is we could put, maybe we can put done in the top right hand corner. Let's undo that. Let's go to navigation bar button. And we can go to system item, we can go done. Cool. Okay, cool. So we've got the navigation bar sorted. We've got done, which can essentially dismiss this view controller. But now we need a way of the user entering text into the application. So let's go back to the components library and search text. And we can use text field. We can just put that there, for example. So let's just actually just add a label in just above the text field, just to say enter some text here. Enter some text here. Then what we're going to do is we're going to set that to 8. We're going to set that to 8, and we're going to set that to 8. And you can see the frame, it wants to resize the frame again, so let's update the frame. And then let's align the text to the center. Now, if say we changed the text and there was too much to fit in horizontally, what we could do here is we could allow the font to scale down its size, which is here. We turn auto shrink on. If we go minimum font scale of 0.5, it will reduce. Say if it's too big, it will reduce the font, the minimum size, which is 0.5 of the current size, to fit in within these constraints, so that it never overflows. Never overflows where it should be, or never gets cut off as well. Cool. So let's add a constraint under here. Let's say 8, and then let's control click from the text field, then center horizontally on container. Okay, because we're centering horizontally, it wants a width as well, so let's give it a width of 100, or maybe let's make it a bit bigger actually, because it's taking in like names. Let's just say 250. Then we can just do option command equals, which is update frame. Cool. Okay, so I think that is most of the components added. In the next tutorial, we will start connecting them to functions so that we can detect button presses. We can start using the table, and we can open this other view when the plus button is clicked. Okay, until next time, thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Goodbye.